Welcome everyone to this evening's webinar on writing summaries of research. My name is Julie Johnson Archer. I'm the director of the Writing Center, and I'm joined by my colleague Sarah Tabawada, our multilingual writing specialist. And we're glad you could make it. I hope that you saw our little prompt here to take a deep breath, take a moment for yourself, and think of something you're grateful for right now. We've got a brief webinar this evening, and we have a few learning objectives for our time. But if you have any questions throughout the webinar, don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat room. Sarah and I will do our best to answer your questions and provide you with extra resources there in the chat room if they are applicable. So the learning objectives for this webinar are first to think about developing our scholarly writing skills of summarizing and applying course concepts. So to do that, we're going to talk about summarizing and application, and we're going to practice some reading strategies and go over what strategies you might use to support your summarizing skills. Then we're also going to talk about practicing applying course concepts. And to do that, we're going to use a specific assignment workshop, an assignment from the psychology department. The specific course is PSYO 323, and this is an upcoming assignment. So if you happen to be in that class, this is going to be very applicable to you. If not, the concepts and strategies we're going to talk about will apply no matter what assignments you find yourself working on while at ACU Online. So we're going to start first with what is a summary. And a summary basically contains the points of a passage that are important to your writing purpose, and you leave out the other details. Summaries are significantly shorter than the original text that you are summarizing. Summarizing involves putting the main ideas into your own words, including only the main points. So it's pretty similar. In fact, it's the same in many ways as paraphrasing text, but it also involves condensing things down and determining what is important to include, what's not, what are the main points. For example, the summary is a key feature of an annotated bibliography, which is another common assignment in many ACU courses. Just like with quoting or with paraphrasing, it's necessary to attribute summarized ideas to the original source, since this is still talking about someone else's ideas. So when you summarize in your papers or your discussions, make sure you cite the summaries just as you would a paraphrase or a quote. When we're talking about summarizing research, summarizing ideas from our readings, it's important to go back to the actual reading that you conduct. That's really important to read well and read with purpose in order to summarize well. So we're going to talk through some reading strategies, and I've separated them into three categories. So first, we're going to talk about the basic structures of most journal articles. So first, it's helpful to know the genre you're reading. Summarizing a scholarly journal article would be different from summarizing a work of literature or even a news article or something like a blog post. So we're going to specifically look at the genre of journal articles, as this is one of the most common types of reading that you'll do for college and graduate courses. It's also part of the psychology assignment instructions that we'll workshop later. Second, we'll talk about reading with purpose. You don't always have to read every word of every article to get the most out of it. This is maybe an underrated strategy, skimming. We're going to talk about how to skim effectively. And then third, not only can we read articles strategically, we're going to look at how to apply this strategy to reading over the assignment instructions from Canvas carefully. So most scholarly articles have distinct sections which are separated by headings to help the reader navigate the article and quickly find key information. And we can think about this in general terms as just the beginning, middle, and end. The very beginning of a scholarly journal article is usually what's called an abstract. And this is a very concise, very short summary of the article. It's actually a great example of summary. They've summarized everything in the article into usually just one short paragraph. So then you might see headings within the article like introduction or background for the beginning. Literature review, theoretical framework, methods, and results usually are in the middle. And then discussion and conclusion are headings you might see for the end. There are many possible headings in articles, some far more specific than these, and others that might even just use different terms for the same idea. However, these are a good starting point for understanding the general flow of an academic article. Usually writers of academic articles will start with an overview of the topic, going into the background and research from the literature on the topic. Then they share the details, the specific details of their new research, the perspective or theoretical framework they use to make meaning out of their data, how they gathered data, and the results of their research. And then lastly, the authors will go over what is still unknown about the topic, maybe the limitations of their research, and recommendations for future research before they draw conclusions. It might be helpful to think about all of this as an hourglass. The intro usually starts more general and then moves into the more specific, narrow topic in the middle before widening back out in the conclusion. This is a helpful image for writing your own papers, not just for reading articles. So I meant to edit this slide. It says read the full article, not just the abstract. What do I mean? That sounds contradictory. So basically, don't just read the abstract. That is a temptation. If it's a summary of the whole article, why not just read that? You're good to go, right? Well, not necessarily. They have summarized key points, but they might not be all the key points you need for your writing purpose. So what I'm going to go through in this strategy is talking about how to focus on the sections of the article that are most important to your writing purpose. So for example, if you are writing a summary about the article's main point, the thesis, the purpose, you might focus and read fully the introduction section, the results section, and the discussion sections. These will usually capture those main ideas. What is the topic? What are these authors interested in doing? What were the results of their study? And what are they discussing? What are their thoughts, their interpretation of the results? If you're writing a summary, however, on an article's strengths and weaknesses, that would be very different, and you would want to focus in on the methodology section. And if they have a section called limitations, or ethical considerations, things like that, you would look at those sections, maybe even read them first, and then go back and just skim the rest. So let's talk about skimming. So another one of the final reading strategies we'll talk about here is actually two, annotating and skimming. So annotating means things like underlining, highlighting, and writing notes and keywords and phrases. So annotation is really helpful. Writing a few words or even just one word that encompasses what the paragraph or section just read is about can be very useful when summarizing later because it helps you recall what was covered. So you might summarize the content of each paragraph, especially in those main sections you're focusing on, with a summative word in the margin. For example, next to a paragraph that describes the results in detail, really like the best results that you want to include, write main findings in the margin. You could do that even if you're working on a laptop. There's a lot of annotation tools where you can annotate something on your screen too if you don't have a hard copy. But annotating saves you time by helping you avoid having to go back and reread long portions of text to remember the key points. So again, when your goal is to summarize an article, you want to be able to find those main ideas really quickly when you sit down to write. So a word of caution from Sarah as I was developing these slides. Highlighting is a great strategy. I personally love highlighting, especially if I have a hard copy in front of me. But highlighting should be used sparingly because it does no one any good to highlight everything. So again, this all takes practice in determining what is really the most important. And so again, it does take practice. The last thing I want to mention about this reading strategy is skimming. And let's go over what do I mean when I say skimming? So skimming can mean multiple things. It can mean you read the first sentence of every paragraph and then scan with your eyes really quickly over the rest of the paragraph. That's one strategy for skimming. Another strategy, especially if you are, again, not super interested in all the details of their methodology, but you need to know generally, were they interviewing? Was this quantitative data collection? Just need to know the gist. You might even scan a whole page fairly quickly with your eyes to catch those keywords. That's another skimming strategy. Another skimming strategy is to look for transitions in the text because they can indicate important connections like similarities, contrasts, emphasis in the article. So just like these other reading strategies, skimming does take practice, but reading with purpose like this saves you time and helps you summarize the article succinctly. So basically, you're getting some key ideas and you don't have to devote so much time to every word on the page when you know what you're looking for in the article and you know how to navigate the article because you're familiar with the general structure of a journal article. So let's talk briefly about application. The scholarly writing skill of application or applying course concepts involves connecting new information to other ideas, whether from your course, in your field, in your job, or in your own work and life experience. For example, after reading an article about the benefits of mindfulness for reducing anxiety and depression, I thought of an application of this concept to my own work. Perhaps I was writing a paper, and this would be a sentence I wrote. Knowing that students who come to online writing center webinars may be facing multiple challenges, including writing anxiety, I decided to incorporate strategies for mindfulness into my webinars by allowing a moment at the beginning to breathe, encouraging anxious student writers to slow down and experience gratitude. So if I were writing a paper and I've summarized this article on the benefits of mindfulness and all the ways that it can help mental health, then I can apply and connect that information to whatever it is my topic might be. So let's talk about applying these concepts with an actual assignment example. And again, if you aren't interested in this particular assignment because you aren't working on it, that's okay. We are going to keep going over these important strategies that you can apply to your assignments that are coming up. So I want to go over this assignment quickly, but the purpose is talking about how far less research has been given to middle adulthood than other stages of life. And so there's this Midlife in the United States, MIDAS project, and that's what this assignment is about. So the instructions for this assignment are to do some research on this website, select one article from the site to read and provide a summary of that article. Based on the article, write a 2 to 3 page paper that answers the following questions. So as we read over an assignment, you can annotate, just like we were talking about. So what do we need to do? Select one article. Make sure we choose one and make sure it's from this website. We need to read it, right? And we can apply all of those reading strategies in case we don't have much time, which I know is a common problem. Provide a summary. That's our main instruction of what we need to do. Then we move on to the details of the assignment and the questions we need to answer in the 2 to 3 page paper. So briefly describe the article you selected, summarize the main findings and conclusions, discuss why you selected that article. So what is it we need to do most to stay on topic here? Summarize the main findings of that article. Again, that might not include every detail about their participants and how they selected participants and their data analysis procedure and how they double checked everything and all of those details, right, that are included in a long article. Those aren't the main findings. So we might skim all the details about methods and data collection and just go straight to the findings to read in depth, right? Summarize the main findings and discuss why you selected that article. How does this article advance our understanding of midlife? And you might highlight a different part of this. You might say how, right? You might say advance our understanding. But whatever you see as the main thing you need to do or answer, underline it, highlight it. You might even bold it if you copy and paste this into the APA template, which we'll look at as we have time in just a couple minutes. How does this article connect with what you read in the textbook? So connect this with what we've read and connect the article you read to a personal experience. So connect with what you've read and a personal experience. Those are applications, like we talked about. So let's go. We just have a couple of minutes to look at the template and see how would we take that information and begin writing or even just outlining this assignment. And if you want to follow along, we've got the link to the template right there in the chat room. Make sure you've got access to the APA template that we offer. You might just download it and keep a copy ready to go. So you should now see the APA template, and I've started filling in some information as if I were going to complete this assignment. In the template, we have the title page. So I just went ahead and put in the title of this particular psychology assignment as the title of this paper. You would continue filling in the rest of the title page information here. Then I like to take the assignment instructions and paste them into the template, and I go ahead and start using the assignment instructions as the basis for an outline. This is a 2 to 3 page paper, which is not very long, so I want to make sure I stay on track, and every time I come to write a paragraph or even just a couple of sentences, I know I can stay on track and be on topic. So here I've just pasted things in right from Canvas onto the first page of the template, the body of my paper. So we can see here are those questions I just went over, and I went ahead and I bolded what made sense to me. Describe the article, summarize the main findings, discuss why. All right, so if those are my main things I need to do for this first bullet point of the prompt, I might give myself sentence starters for when I am ready to write. I don't even have to read the article before I start this outline, and I know this is the order of the sentence and information I need to include. So you could say Herrera's 2023 article if you know the author and the date, or you could just say the article for the purposes of outlining. Herrera's article is about ... and I can fill in those information as I go. I have to summarize the main findings and conclusions. Herrera's main findings include ... right? And this way, the final sentence might be, I selected this article because, to answer that last part of the question. And I know this is a little bit directive or simplistic, but sometimes these writing prompts give you a lot to go off of. You don't have to go off and be too creative to fully answer these questions and get the full points. And really, we want to make sure we're staying on topic to receive those full points. So I hope seeing sort of an outline based on this assignment instructions helps you get going and feel like, yes, you can accomplish this next paper, whatever it might be that you're writing. As you can see, there's multiple things about APA that we could talk about here, about in-text citations for the author and the date in parentheses as an APA in-text citation. For a paper like this, where you're being asked to discuss why you are interested in a topic or how something relates to your personal experience, you're going to use words like I selected, and this article relates to my life, and using those personal pronouns to talk about your life and your beliefs. And that's common in some reflective assignments that you might have at ACU. So that's also okay and good in APA format. So I wanted to cover a couple of those APA common questions we see. So I'm going to jump back to our slides here, and we've got some more resources to share with you. And again, if you have any questions, we're happy to stick around and answer those. We have more psychology-specific focused webinars on our website, along with webinars that are focused on other degrees and other courses as well. Our final webinar of 2023 is Thursday the 30th. That's this Thursday. And that will be a live edit with Dr. Considine on watching how he, a professional editor, reviews a dissertation draft. So if you're interested in learning more about APA, or if you might be a doctoral student, that's a great one for you to mark your calendar and come ask questions. We've got more resources here, more about analyzing versus summary, summarizing, paraphrasing skills, along with more the APA template and more ACU Writing Center resources. We have a lot of Writing Center appointments, tutoring appointments available for the rest of this term, again, as we approach finals week. And I also want to plug that we have tutoring available over the intersession. So after fall 2 ends and before spring 1 starts, over the Christmas holiday break, we do have some limited tutoring available. So make those appointments if you are interested in getting extra feedback over the break on any writing assignment or writing project you have. If you have follow-up questions or quick writing questions, you can always email the Writing Center team at onlinewritingcenter@acu.edu. And we look forward to working with you on your summary skills and your writing skills in general. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll stick around for another couple minutes in case there are any questions.